Friends, hello everyone. Today I wanted to talk about some techniques for working with an angle grinder. I also wanted to share and demonstrate a couple of useful DIY projects for working with it. Let's start with a simple piece of advice. When changing the disc or when the angle grinder is not needed after work, always turn it off from the power source, as one moment can change life before and after. Who knows what could happen, so it's better not to take risks. By the way, I want to share a trick to reduce the chance of forgetting to unplug the angle grinder. Specifically, after unpacking a new angle grinder, tape the key for removing the disc to the cord closer to the plug. This way, you'll be forced to unplug it when you want to change the disc. It should become a habit. This tip applies only to corded angle grinders, but there are also cordless ones. What to do with them? It's generally better to remove the battery, but you can also use the button lock switch and always lock it after work. Since the button is easy to press, it can be accidentally turned on just by grabbing the handle. However, this will only work if you make this locking procedure automatic. Overall, I'll show you a way to remove the disc that I always use, and it will work if the disc is not severely stuck or nothing is left of it. First, you need to do this with gloves, and then, after practice, you can do it without them. What needs to be done? Simply take the angle grinder and knock the disc off with your hand, as shown in the video. I noticed that it's easier to do this when the disc is turned with the metal ring toward the grinder's gearbox. If the disc still gets stuck and considerable force is needed to unscrew the locking nut, there is a risk of damaging the locking mechanism. To prevent this, or if it has already happened, on some angle grinders you can use a wrench on the shaft on which the flats are profiled, in my case a 17mm wrench. With this you can lock the shaft. I can't show you how it looks because I have a wide wrench and I don't want to wear it down just for demonstration purposes. I think you understood it anyway. I would only grind it in case of absolute necessity. I found this advice on the internet. To prevent the disc from getting stuck, make this thing. Take a plastic canister and drill a washer with a hole of 14mm using a crown bit. Now place this washer under the nut directly on the disc every time. I can say that the method works, but knocking the disc off by hand becomes more difficult, although it unscrews easily with a wrench. Even after a couple of jams, the nut came off quite easily. So I want to revisit the question that has been on everyone's minds. Which side to put the disc? With the pattern inside or outside? First of all, you need to look not at the pattern but at the metal ring. It's often on the side with the pattern, but can also be on the side without it. As I mentioned before, I decided to put the metal ring toward the gearbox for myself. So, in my opinion, the disc is easier to unscrew by knocking it off with my hand, but there are discs that can only be installed one way. On which side are the metal rings on them? I have a grinding disc and it can only be installed with the ring on the outside. Accordingly, theoretically, it is more correct to install discs with the ring on the outside. After all, the manufacturer should take this into account, right? The question is still debatable because the grinding disc doesn't get stuck. So here's what I think. You can put the disc any way you like if it's not specified or shown which way to install it or the direction it should rotate. Finally, I'll show you a couple of useful DIY projects for the angle grinder. I've already made one in one of the previous videos. It's a clamp with a sewage elbow. It's used to redirect dust when working with concrete using a vacuum cleaner. And I'll make another DIY project right now. You'll need a piece of metal plate. I have aluminum about 3mm thick. I'll cut a small strip about 9 centimeters wide from it. I'll sand it a bit to remove any burrs. Then I'll make a hole with an 8mm drill bit and further enlarge the hole with a countersink. Now I'll insert an M8 bolt into the drill chuck and proceed to grind the bolt. I want to turn it into a bolt with a concealed head. Here's how I did it. And here's what I got. Now I'll attach the plate to the angle grinder using the homemade bolt. I've created a simple platform for cutting sheet material and for cutting profile pipes evenly. The main thing is that you can press the angle grinder with force without worrying that it might run away, and the cut turns out to be even. Friends, that's all for today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and in the comments, share your opinion. And tell me, which way do you put the disc on the angle grinder? It would be interesting to know the majority's opinion. For those who haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so right now. Subscribe and hit the bell to not miss new useful videos. Thanks to everyone for watching, and goodbye.